Hey everyone, welcome into Iowa Plains View. We just got done signing the paperwork on a $500,000 loan, and we spent $300,000 already buying our grandparents' farm. Now, the farm came included with everything, all equipment, machinery, few animals, but we're doing a little different series here. So I've decided we're going to start in the year 1990 and work our way forward from there. So this is coming out of the farm crisis of the 80s. So I've got the interest loan set at almost 8%, which is what the interest rate was for 1990 in Iowa. And we're going to try and keep this as realistic as possible as far as farm prices and costs and everything else. So that 8% interest rate on this loan is not cheap. We're going to be paying a little over $4,000 a month in mortgage, plus all of our daily costs for all of our buildings. So this is going to be a tough series to make a go of it, but I'm very, very excited. So I'll give you a quick tour of the farmstead here, and then we have some cattle that we need to get fed right away. And all of our fields are in absolutely terrible condition due to the lack of maintenance because Grandpa was having a hard time making it through the farm crisis. So we're on the tail end of it, and we're going to make a go of it. But we have a lot of work to do and not a whole lot of time to get stuff done. But it's January, so there's not a whole lot we can do, but I can give you a nice farm tour. So behind me, obviously, you can see our house. We have a nice little carport. We have a farm kiosk over here, and that's where we will be selling fruits and vegetables that we're growing in our garden. Now, to make this as realistic as possible, the garden will only produce between the months of May and October. The rest of the year, the garden won't be producing anything because it is an outdoor garden. It is not a greenhouse. Now, right across the road here, this is our field. As you can see, it's looking pretty ratty. So it's got weeds growing, needs lime, it needs fertilizer, but that's okay. And over here, see the big red barn? That is our cow barn. That's where all of our cattle are. We'll see that in a bit when it's time to feed our cattle here. But if we follow this path down around, see we got a nice big yard, nice big garden here, and I can't wait to see how much produce we can actually get going from this thing, and that'll help supplement some of our income. Now through the gate over here, we can start out looking in the Quonsets here. So there's not a whole lot in here. We've got an old Massey Ferguson 185 sprayer. I'm very happy to have a self-propelled sprayer as opposed to a pull type. Definitely a lot less crop damage when spraying, so I'll take it. We've got the Case IH 950 Cyclo planter here, and that's going to do all of our soybean and corn planting. We've got the International 4600 Vibrishank cultivator, and it is hooked up to our International 4786, and we'll definitely be putting this thing to work this spring here. Definitely have a lot of tillage that needs to get done that hasn't been done the last few years. And if we move over into this shed, you can see this shed is quite empty as well, unfortunately. But we've got our International 1586. This is our planting tractor, kind of do a little bit of everything. We'll do the planting, we'll do the chopping, all that. We have a Brantner tipper. I know this is not necessarily 1990, but it's as close as I can get in Farm Sim at the moment. We have the New Holland 900 chopper, and that's how we're going to chop all of our corn to turn into silage. So that is it in this Quonset. These doors shut. Got a couple of fuel barrels over here. We have the Case 17 shank chisel plow over here, and that is how we will plow our fields before we run the cultivator over them. Got, I guess I almost walked past it, the power washer. We have an old international. We have an old international 355 power washer. That thing is awesome. I wish the wand matched the age, but I'll take it. We have a Massey Ferguson diesel lawnmower. Absolutely love that thing. Can't wait to use it. So we have a Longhorn livestock trailer. That's how we'll transport all animals when we're selling and buying. We got our silage pit over here. We have our 1066 hooked up to the Gale feed wagon. We have our 856 with the front loader on it. Now, Grandpa was kind enough to have a few bales laying around for us to at least feed some cattle here. We have our cattleman bale trailer. Use that to pick up bales when out of the field. Now, I'm not really sure what this bin is for, but we'll figure out a use for it, whether it stays put or we move it. Not sure, but as of right now, it is empty. We have an 8-row case header, corn head. We have a 20-foot case bean header. We have our International 1590 mower, our Sitrex rake here. Got a little bit of cattle mineral down there. And if we go into this shed, we've got our International 1480 combine. That's going to be our moneymaker for the next few years. It's not anything big, but it'll work. We've got a case 5100 seeder here that we'll definitely be putting to use at some point. Got the old Ford semi truck hooked up to the mower, 28-foot mower grain trailer. We got the K-brand tedder. Now, as far as the tedding goes, that's even to this day, that's not something that happens here in Southwest Iowa. There's a handful of guys that run them, but it's very rare to actually see. But with running 1 day months in farm sim, you have to run a tedder. So we're just going to pretend that that's completely normal for the 90s. But back to it here, we got a New Holland 648 baler, and that's what we will be using to bale up all of our hay, all of our straw. Now, to keep this as realistic as possible, we will be baling up our corn stalks, but that's it. We're not going to be baling up straw off of anything else. Now you can see this fence over here. This is a part of a horse pasture. Now, unfortunately, my grandparents weren't able to keep any of the horses or any of the goats, but the infrastructure is already here. So we've got this little goat barn here, and I do plan on getting goats here relatively quickly. They're not very expensive animals, and they're relatively cheap to feed. And I mean, honestly, who doesn't love goats, especially baby goats? So we're going to get goats as soon as possible on this farm. And back over here, this is our horse barn. Now, to be completely honest, I'm not the biggest fan of horses, but they are quite valuable in the game. So I do plan on getting some horses and seeing, take a shot, see how it goes. Got our Prowler gooseneck trailer here. We'll use that to run back and forth into town, get supplies. If we do end up making enough bales and we can sell bales, we'll use that to sell them. So over here is Grandma's chickens. She doesn't have a whole lot. I think there's like 5 or 6 in there, but she does have them. Now, we don't have any grain to feed them, so we do have to buy the chicken feed. We don't have any way to make it, grow it. So for now, we will be buying the chicken feed. So that's going to be an expense, but you got to make Grandma happy. So over here, we do have a hog barn, but it is empty. And yet again, we have no way to produce hog feed. So if we were to get pigs, we have to purchase all of the hog feed, which is going to be super expensive and cut the margin down to basically nothing. So if we end up doing hogs, it's more to, for fun, not actually for profit. Or also, since we do have the big slurry spreader here, we may get hogs just to produce slurry for us so we can put it out on our fields as fertilizer and save some of that fertilizing cost. Now over here, we've got 3 bins. We have 1 Sukup and 2 MFS bins. We have more than enough storage, and I'm very happy with this farm setup over here. So the field back behind, this was corn last year. This is our field. And just like the other one up on top of the hill, you can see it's got a lot of weeds and it needs a lot of work. So that's something we're going to work on here this spring, try and get as much field work done as we can, try and get things prepped as best we can. But we'll run over, get the feed wagon loaded up here, and then we can feed and then we can get our cattle fed. And you guys can see the cattle barn up there. So we'll get the old 1066 fired up, let it warm up. Should have done this when I was over here giving you guys the tour. But, it happens. So I'm going to drop the bucket off quick. Now, I've tried probably 30 different combos of commodity sheds, trying to figure out how we can do loose hay instead of just throwing a bale in. But unfortunately, I can't seem to figure out how to make it work. That's one thing I would love if somebody could come up with a real feed ration. Like we have this central ethanol, what is it, central grain and ethanol mod or something like that. And it has the corn byproduct and soybean byproducts, both of which are used in cattle feed and pig feed. I don't understand why we can't have a more realistic feeding system. The TMR is okay. I mean, because of the way this works, we're going to be doing a 50-50 split here with hay and silage, and I'm going to throw a little bit of mineral in just to try and make it kind of realistic. But nobody throws straw. That's not a thing. I've never seen it. I've seen about everything. Literally watched a cattle lot throw boxes of cereal into their cattle feed. Like they'll feed them literally anything, but straw is not one of them. So that's my big complaint is the animals in this game. It'd be fantastic if we could get an actual feed ration. It'd make feeding them, taking care of them, a million times better. But like I said, we'll do the 50-50 mix, do a little bit of our cattle mineral, and call it good. But I think it would be way better if we could, have a tub grinder in the game that actually grinds hay, because that's, definitely the majority of cattle guys that I know, that's how they do it. Or actually have a feed ring, have a bale ring that we can put out in the pasture that the cattle can actually feed off of. That would be fantastic as well. All right, well, I did not get any of the mineral in, but that's all right. This still qualifies as TMR, so it's the full quality feed, and that's all that really counts. So we'll head up here and show you guys the cattle barn here. The gate swung open. And the trigger's a little weird for the feed in this barn. There it is. Now you got to hit just the right spot. It's not across the whole barn. But we'll get this unloaded. And then we can I guess while that's unloading here, we can take a look outside. See, we got some Holstein cattle out here. We've got 10 females and 1 bull. They all look very happy, very healthy. And I'm very excited for it. So it looks like they got plenty of straw for now. Not producing any milk. I do have the realistic livestock mod on, so they won't produce milk year round. You know, help make this a little bit more realistic here. But they're doing very, very well. We have our manure spreader up here. It's the K-Brand Knight. Looks like we do have a little manure, but not a whole lot. Now, we're going to jump up here into build mode. And you guys can see this whole field right here. This is all tenure. So Grandpa put that into tenure 8 years ago. So we've still got 2 years before we can till it up and plant it. But that is quite a bit of ground that we can cover in a couple of years. And just on the other side of the fence there, this field here, that is our alfalfa field. It's a nice big field where we can get lots of alfalfa bales off of it. So with no more animals than we currently have, we should be able to sell some of our alfalfa bales for a couple of years anyway. But it definitely gives us enough that we can grow into it and not have to worry about purchasing more land, which is absolutely fantastic. All right, so that is it for feeding our animals. I'm going to jump in the pickup, run down to the co-op, and talk to them about getting a fertilizer spreader and some lime so we can start liming these fields. We ran down to the local co-op, picked up this fertilizer cart, and we're going to spread some lime. Now, this is a little different than how it's, traditionally been done around here. But for FS25's sake, we'll go ahead and use the cart to spread lime, even though that is definitely not something that I've ever seen happen. Never seen anybody use a fertilizer cart to spread lime before, but hey, why not? So we're going to go ahead, spread lime. I picked up a bunch of lime. I picked up a couple pallets of fertilizer as well. Prepaid for our anhydrous that we'll be using this spring to fertilize our corn ground, and also picked up a little bit of herbicide. I don't know if it's enough, but I picked some up anyway. And since we're doing this, old school 90s theme, now there was the beginning of GPS, but definitely not in a tractor like this. None of the equipment I have would have ever had auto steer or GPS or anything like that in it. So we're not running GPS or auto steer. We're doing this all by hand, and I'm going to try not to hire any workers as long as I can. Try and do all of this ourselves. But we'll get this lime spread out here on this field, and then we'll move down into our big field. And that's where I have the pickup parked with all the pallets of lime. And hopefully I bought enough, because I honestly don't know how much I need. Just kind of winging it, like always. All right, we're finishing up this last little snippet here, and this is definitely a lesson learned. This should have easily been enough to cover this field, but due to me overlapping and not using steering assist, I wasted a bunch. So I'm going to have to try and be a lot more diligent and do a lot better job here in the big field to make sure that that's not an issue moving forward. Last thing we need to do is waste inputs and increase our input cost. That's how you lose money, and that's how you lose the farm. But I do have to say, this is one of my absolute all-time favorite maps. I'm super pumped to be doing a series on it, and can't wait to see where this goes and how this evolves as we go. So we'll pull up here, reload with lime. I've got like 32,000 liters of lime. Should be enough, but if I'm having issues with overlapping, it won't be, and that's going to be an issue. All right, we're full, we're topped off, so we'll go ahead and get this started and see how far this first wagon load gets us. So I'm filling up with our third fertilizer cart here of lime, and we got all the way around the field one time, got all the headland done, and then one pass down. So we went a little bit further than I honestly thought we would, so I'm happy about that. But definitely need to make sure, I'm being careful about, my overlap still. Because doing the headland, not really much overlap there, as long as I'm staying a little ways out. But we'll go ahead, get this next cart unloaded here. And yeah, for some reason, this cart likes to glitch out and not show product in it once in a while. Not sure why it does that, but it does for some reason. When I get this little snippet here that I missed, and then we'll head back out and the big part of the field and get it done. All right, we're almost done spreading lime in this field. I need to go back, reload. I'm going to go ahead and load up a pallet, maybe a little bit more, just to make sure that we can get this field done. And then we're going to switch over to fertilizer, and we're going to run solid fertilizer over our bean ground, and we will use anhydrous for our corn ground. All right, 4,000 liters is way more than what we need. We have a lot of lime left over. That's a good thing, but it's also showing that we need to lime our alfalfa field, but we can't do that until right after it's been harvested. So we won't be doing that today. We'll have to do that in the spring after our first cutting. So that's something we'll have to keep in mind and not forget. But yeah, things are going well. Very happy with how this lime has gone so far. I'm glad that, I didn't run out. Definitely bought more than enough, so that's a good thing. And yeah, like I said, we'll switch over to fertilizer here in a second and go from there. Oh, and something I don't think I've mentioned, I'm not running precision farming yet. That's something I will turn on later into the series. While precision farming was really starting to take off here in the 90s, a farm like this, there's no way that it would work out. None of our equipment's new enough, so we're not going to do any precision farming. No auto steer, nothing. We'll be using we'll be using row markers for the planter, and just since I don't think the foamer actually works on a sprayer in FS25, we're just going to have to kind of guess and eyeball that one, and do any cleanup, spot spraying that we have to do once the weeds are up. But hopefully we can figure it out. So I'm going to come over here. We're going to go ahead and unload this lime. And we can go pick up our fertilizer and get it loaded, and we can get fertilizer spread across our bean ground quick. And then we need to move into some tillage. Now, typically in January, you're not going to see much, tillage going on, but it is 40 degrees, and that means the ground is the ground isn't frozen. And also, we have some bad weather coming in March. So we're just going to get all of our, or try and get as much tillage done this month as we can, seeing as how there is, some bad weather. This could be a rough planting season, the way the long-term forecast is looking. It's backed in here. And we'll load up with our solid fertilizer and get this spread across our bean ground. I got 3,000 liters of solid fertilizer. I'm really hoping that's going to be enough. Really hoping that's going to be enough, but we'll find out. All right. We are done spreading our fertilizer, so I'm going to take this fertilizer cart back to the co-op, get it returned, and I'm also going to talk about what I did off camera here. So as you can see, our funds have changed quite a bit. So I wanted to make this as realistic as possible for the year 1990. So I looked up prices for everything we've bought so far and figured out what the average cost was here in the state of Iowa for, ag lime, anhydrous, seed costs, solid fertilizer. For the solid fertilizer, that was a nightmare, and I don't honestly think I've gotten it quite right. The cost definitely seems a little low, but the herbicide, everything. So far, based off of the average prices for everything in 1990, we've spent a grand total of $62,508. So I reset up the money to the $200,000 that we originally had and pulled back that $62,508, and that's where we're sitting at now with $137,488. Now, our monthly mortgage actually works out pretty good. It comes out to really close to being about a $50,000 a year, which would be generally, I should say, generally close to how much, that this size of farm would cost in 1990. So we're going to leave that alone. That'll be a big expense throughout the year and something we need to, make sure we keep an eye on. Now, I wish we could do 2 separate loans. That would be fantastic. I could have my mortgage for the farm and then also, borrow money for input costs, but we can't. So we're going, this direction. Now, what we've spent so far does not include the anhydrous because I don't know how much we're going to use. And it does not include the seed because I haven't decided how much we're going to buy yet. So those are 2 huge input costs that we have left. And I also looked up the average yield for the state of Iowa in 1990. So what soybeans yielded and what corn yielded. And then what the average sale price was for both corn and soybeans. And so when we go to sell, I'll just go off of the average and we'll see how much, we get for a yield here in the game. And if I need to, I will adjust accordingly up or down, whether or not we're, getting close to the average yield. Now, I am running the realistic weather mod. So if we get dinged with a drought and a whole bunch of crop dies, or we get flooded out or whatever, that will also have to be taken into consideration. So there's a lot of factors to play in here yet, but I wasn't comfortable with the money that we had spent. I didn't feel like it was right. So went ahead, did some checking, and we got it adjusted. So this is going to be hard. I honestly think we may have overspent already, and we're going to take an L. I think we're going to take a loss on this year. But part of being a first-time farmer, first year, you're going to have those lessons that you got to learn. So we're going to get this fertilizer cart taken back, and then we need to run back home and start doing some tillage. Now, part of the reason I waited to do tillage until after we had some fertilizer down and the lime down was I want to get it tilled into the ground. It'll be more effective if it's tilled in as opposed to just sitting on the surface. So that is our plan moving forward here. But yeah, it's playing with the numbers is going to be fun. It's going to be very interesting. And, I've still got a lot that I need to look up, like, milk, for example. Whenever our cows start producing milk and we can sell milk, how much are we going to make off that? I doubt the base game price is going to be anywhere close. So that's something we'll have to adjust for, as well as, making money off of our garden and whatnot. I have no idea how I'm going to figure that up. I don't even know if I'll touch it. It may just, I don't know that we're going to produce enough there to really move the goalposts much, but you never know. So that's all stuff we need to keep in mind and consider as we move forward here. But I can definitely say, I'm just super excited to be back on Iowa Plains View. Absolutely gorgeous map. I love the new details in here. And I'm super excited to go on this journey through the 90s and maybe even into the 2000s. We'll see how long we can get this series to go. I know I'm not good about sticking with series for very long, but I feel like this is one that I can stick with. There's a lot of good things about this map that are going to keep me very interested in it for a very long time. So hopefully hopefully the same can be said for you guys watching this series. But we'll head back to the home place here, get that chisel plow hooked up, and get out in the field. We're up here in what's going to be our cornfield next year, and we're going to get this all chisel plowed up. And then here in a couple of months before we plant, we'll go ahead and cultivate. We'll also need to put anhydrous on this field yet. And once we're done getting this field chisel plowed, we're also going to go down into what's going to be our bean field this year, down, across the road into the home place there, and get that all chisel plowed up, because these fields are in desperate need of some deep tillage. And of course, it helps A, with weeds, B, with a little bit of aeration. And no-till is not really a thing yet. There's a few places trying it out, but it is definitely not commonplace yet. So we'll be doing a lot of tillage here the first few years until we, learn better in the 2000s. Now, when I do a lot of the time when I do my tillage, I typically do my end rows first. However, with this field, A, I won't need to do end rows. I can just go back and forth. And B, with this form of tillage, you would do your end rows last, because you do not want to run over and compact what you just tilled up. So we won't be running any kind of end rows here. We're just going to go back and forth all the way across the field. Now, this is not a very big implement, so this is going to take, a hot minute, but thankfully we have plenty of time, as it is still only January. So even if we don't get this done today, we still have February, maybe, and definitely March and the beginning of April to get all of our tillage done. I just want to get as much done as we can, because like I said, the long-term forecast does not look fantastic for us. All right, we're finishing up our last pass here in this field. Now we're going to run back down, get a little bit of fuel in the tractor, and start on our big field here. Now, we're not going to get that done today. There's far too many acres to get covered, but that's okay. February looks like it's going to be a rather warm one, and so does March, April, and May. However, March, April, and May look like they're going to be wet, so planting could be this could be challenging. I don't know what's going to happen. If we get rained out too much, we may not get enough crop in. This could get very sketchy very quick. But we're going to head down, put fuel in. Now, thankfully, when I bought the farm, both fuel barrels were full, so that is helpful. However, You can see we're burning through a lot of fuel, and it's not going to last long. These fuel barrels are not gigantic. Well, as I'm trying to decide which direction to run here, I got to say the ground texture is just phenomenal. The colors, everything. This map is just absolutely perfect. Hands down, favorite map, no question about it. And I'm just so excited to be playing on it here. So we're gonna go ahead and get this, especially this flat bottom field here, or this, especially these kind of low river bottoms, type fields here. These absolutely need to get some deep tillage run on them. Should spike our yield quite a bit being able to do this. Now you do have to be careful running deep tillage like this, doing any kind of ripping or deep, chisel plowing when you're on side hills, because then, you have to worry about dirt loss and runoff. But down here on these flat bottoms, oh yeah, it absolutely, even to this day, there is a big difference when you can do deep tillage. Now I know they'll tell you that, oh, it doesn't work. It compacts the dirt underneath and blah, blah, blah. But I'll tell you what, I've seen it firsthand. It absolutely makes a difference. So we will be doing quite a bit of deep tillage on this field. We're not going to do it every year because there's no need to do it every year. But it's definitely something we're going to do every 2, maybe 3 years. Give this thing a good deep till again, and then go back over it with cultivator and smooth it out, make it just an absolutely perfect seed bed for our seeds to grow and germinate and boost our yields. Now I don't think we'll get this field done today, but we're going to go for a while, go till dark, and see how far we end up. Well, it's 5 o'clock. I went ahead and pulled the tractor and chisel plow into the shop here so we can get some maintenance done and have it prepped and ready for the month of February. And we need to run a bale of straw up to our cattle, as it is going to be cold tonight. So we need to make sure that they have plenty of bedding laid down so that they stay nice and warm overnight. And we'll go ahead and finish up that field in February. But for now, we just need to drop this bale of straw off up in the barn. Make sure that our cattle are bedded down good, stay warm. So I'm going to go ahead and run this up here to the cattle barn, get this bale of straw dropped off, and that is going to be it for the month of January. So I'll see you guys in the next episode. We'll finish doing our chisel plowing, get the cultivating done, and hopefully get some planting done. But I'll see you guys in the next episode. If you like what you're seeing, please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode.